right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my Lily Sevvy channel. I'm usually playing games, but today I am chatting with Hayden Wayne about the recent controversy and the legal aspects behind the VTuber drama. And it's really, I think it's been making my Twitter feed a little bit maybe crazy, very
Yeah, it'll do that.
It's been exploding, but I think it would be good for us to just start the conversation. Well, I guess before we go into that, let me introduce you, Hayden Wayne. Hayden, hi, how are you? Why don't you tell folks who you are, what you do in life, what is your favorite color, your first pet's name, and your social security number. Thank you. I'm kidding.
Okay, yeah. So I'd actually like to start with credit card number.
Oh my god! Wait, hold on. Where's my pen? Oh my god! Jucks.
Now I am Hayden Wayne, 75. I'm one of the members of the GCA YouTube channel. We do stuff every Wednesday. We've got a show. And Monday, I'm usually hanging out with ABF on his show. Sure, most of you guys know who he is. And we talk games and stuff like that. And then I play games with people. I have a YouTube channel that's on hiatus because I actually work in the oil field. And my job has been very busy over the past year or so. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to make any videos or anything, but I do keep up with online stuff. And like I said, I've got my streams that I do with people, but I'm just hanging around pretty much.
Oh, okay. Very, very nice. Different camera angles as Captain. Let's say hello to chat. Hello, Saw. How are you? Hello, Cool Gamer. Hello, Mia 911. Hello, Cajun Corey. How are you guys doing? Mia is asking, is a Powder getting 25 to life? No, she's not, but we're gonna talk about the controversy regarding Powder for sure. And Chalice. And hello, Mega Monster. How are you? Hello, I think I said hello to Lawrence Knight. In case I didn't, hello, Lawrence. How are you? And hello, Cavitano. How are you guys doing? Hello, JR. How are you guys doing? And hello, Gamer Man. Over in Twitch. Hello, Nargnal. How are you guys doing? All right, so I think we can. I think we can start the conversation by first talking about VTubers, right? Because there's a lot of people that don't really know what a VTuber is or what they do or like what their choice is. And Hayden, you sometimes show your face, but most of the times you have a VTuber. So why don't you talk us a little bit around that and educate us around what it means to be a VTuber?
Yeah, so VTubing is something that came around several years back, and it was just really the evolution of, like, everybody knows Sargon of Akkad, right? And he always used to just stream with a profile picture up on the screen, you know, kind of similar to this. And you would just see people kind of on screen with an avatar. Well, naturally, what came out of that was people using live 2D animated figures, and usually it's for privacy's sake. It's something that allows people to maintain more anonymity than showing their face on stream, and for some people that is a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
So VTubing came from Japanese idol culture for the most part, because the Japanese idol culture that's like the girls that, you know, sing and dance and stuff like that. And they, you know, travel around, do their little concerts, but not a whole lot was known about like their private lives. There were a couple of companies that got to work on figuring out how to digitize that and make it into a digital platform so that then they could bring idol culture to the rest of the world. And out of that naturally sprung other streamers and stuff who wanted to use that same type of technology that has, you know, face tracking, is able to move around in a limited capacity, because it was much more interactive with the audience than just being a static image.
Yeah.
Me personally, I use the model whenever I'm at work and I've got company logos on, shirts, hats, and all of the stuff that I typically would wear at home. I don't wear normal clothes. I'm always wearing work clothes whenever I'm at work because I'm on a job site.
Makes sense.
So for me, as a VTuber fan, it made sense for me to get a 2D animated face tracking avatar to be able to go on streams or make videos or just hang out with my friends rather than running the risk of, doxing the place that I work at or something like that just because I carelessly started up a stream or something one day.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I know that like for, generally like streamers, like if you put your face is out there now and you can be identified because people can see you, right? Right. And I'm assuming that's somewhat similar to what it is being a VTuber, that if, your image that you use, that becomes your identity.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's the thing that most people will associate with you. They'll hear your voice, but the immediate image in their head comes to whatever model it is that you're using or however you look online, just like it is whenever you hear a person's voice. Like think if you heard your dad's voice, you're immediately going to get the picture of your dad in your head, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because basic human association stuff. So yeah, it becomes a core part of your identity. And even if you happen to change models or switch to a new artist, a new model, then that identity now takes on multiple forms, right? Like there's VTubers like Iron Mouse who she's probably got something around like 137 different models, and they're all by different artists, different costumes, different outfits. But anytime you hear her voice, you're going to think of one of those at the very least.
Yeah. And that definitely makes sense. I was, as I was doing some research on it, I was really surprised by how expensive too these models are. And definitely it looks like very customizable as well.
Yeah, so some of them are. A lot of how it works is typically you find an artist and you kind of give them a concept art of what it is that you want to look like. Then that artist would work with their own abilities, work with you and try to figure out, okay, what's going to be your look for your avatar. Yep. And just in the past couple of years, there have been several artists and artist groups that have come up with customizable VTuber models, meaning that they've drawn in all sorts of different costumes, all shirts, pants, like I've got this jacket on, the shirt underneath, I've got long hair, I've got facial hair. This was all part of a customizable model because the customizable models have been designed to be much more attainable for most people to get, because you can pay a couple $100 and have, a couple hundred options to pick through. Like, actually, there was a recent update that I discovered last Halloween that my model got rid of some of the hotkeys that I had, but now I can do stuff like this.
Oh, no.
Or this. They just added in a bunch of their different stuff that they had added to put onto a model into the hotkeys that are built into VTube Studio. Cool thing, but it was kind of jarring when I tried to wave and turned into a deer.
Yeah. So let me kind of get this straight. So like what do you buy? What do you purchase when you're purchasing a model? Like, do you purchase everything with all the customizations that you make yourself? Or like, do you purchase like one specific avatar based on your liking?
Well, that's where this VTubing industry is actually kind of weird, because what you're actually purchasing is a folder, a file, a digital file. And it depends what's contained in that file. So sometimes whenever you just go to an artist, they will just have a 2D drawing that's ready to be rigged. And it will just be the drawing that they drew. Sometimes, like in my case, they went ahead and drew all of the different options that I was able to change from, and they rigged the model. So rigging is the way that a model moves. It's the tracking points, and that's how we're actually able to to, be expressive with our faces, move around, stuff like that. That was all in the file that I bought, but it depends on who you're working with, what you're actually going to get. So with some, you will find an artist and then find a rigger. And if you want to make any changes, sometimes the artists are like, well, you can't make any changes without consulting me. So it's all kind of up in the air as to how all of it actually works, because VTubing is fairly new and a lot of this stuff hasn't really been explored yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. And King's advice is a really good question, which I think leads us to why we're here. Is so on some of the more specific packages, do you maintain any of the IP rights, or do you buy a license to use? I guess that's the question. Like when you bought your model, did you sign a specific contract with them, or was it whatever was on the website at the time?
It was for what I bought, it was a implied consent, basically was what they said. And their only real stipulation of consent was on your main social media platform to credit the artist and the rigger. And that was basically all they said. I think they also said no, not safe for work stuff, but that was pretty much it. Yeah. And so, yeah, I guess I maintain the IP from what I understand, but with some of them, like some of these bigger VTuber corporations, the actual corporation will pay the artist, pay the rigger, and then they get the IP. And they allow a talent to use that IP and play that character. Yeah. So if that person leaves, then they now have to do their own thing because the corporation maintains the IP. Now, is it just a license to use, or is it IP rights on the corporation side? With that, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it just then really boils down to the type of contract that you signed, right? Because that's one of the questions that I was raising that I think I have a good understanding on. So let's get through the controversy and let's talk about it, because I think these are really good questions. So let me share my screen here. So this is a powder, and this is the what's the right term? Avatar. Would avatar be the correct term to use for what she was
model?
The model. This is the model that she was using, right? How it came up, it's really irrelevant in terms of like what the controversy was specifically, because that to me doesn't really matter. What's really interesting is the whole fight about it. So for Powder, right, she made a model and she was defending herself because she was being attacked, and she made some comments, which again, the comments are irrelevant. It doesn't really matter to me what comments you make, right? Because speech is speech. Right. And I will preface that by saying, so generally, because I saw this in my Twitter feed too, where people were trying to argue with me on this. Like, yes, there is freedom of speech in the Constitution. Yes, the Constitution applies to the federal government, right?
Yes.
However, there are amendments in the Constitution that say it applies to the states as well. And the states and there are also federal and state statutes that prohibit discrimination based on political speech. And I keep pointing this out, but for some reason people seem to forget about it, right? And it protects political speech, just like it would protect discrimination based on race, age, and all that. In the medium of when you're being provided a service. So think about, we all remember the gay couple that wanted to buy a cake, right? I think it was like during the election when this came up. They wanted to buy a cake, and the bakery refused to provide a cake for them because they were a gay couple that were going to get married, right? And that went all the way to the Supreme Court. So you guys might remember that. Protects, the reason why there was a lawsuit is because there are state and federal statutes that say that the services you are providing to an individual as a corporation, so this is not just the federal government, no, you have to abide by it. Also, there's also statues that protected in terms of employment. We all remember the Gina Carano lawsuit, which I did cover as well in my channel, in my Legally Savvy channel. Her entire case was, you are discriminating against me for political speech. And her political speech that she was engaging to in Twitter was over whether or not she, like the fact that she didn't want to wear a mask during COVID. That was the entire political speech that she did, right? So in here, from the understanding I have, is that this is related towards what's happening right now. We live in a very charged environment right now, particularly with ICE and the police, and it's very hotly debated. Right, there is a reason why here in America we protect freedom of speech, at least to some degree, because it's not unlimited freedom of speech, but it is protected, right? And in this situation, she bought her product, the model. She bought the model for her to use. Right. And at the time that she bought the model, and this is in archive.org. So by the way, if you guys didn't know, a lot of websites get like saved in archive.org. How do I know this? Because the government loves to use this to go after companies. And generally, and I represent companies. I'm an employer-based attorney. So I do, for people that don't know me, hello, I'm Sevvy. My focus is on labor and employment law, contract law. So when it comes to contracts and things like that, this is generally what I do. By trade, I am a litigation attorney. So I always love the fact when people try to tell me, no, that's not how litigation works. It's like, oh, honey, thank you. Thank you for dismissing all the years I spent working as a lawyer. So my point is, like, so at the point of sale, right? And this becomes important, and we'll go over it as well as we're talking about it too. At the point of sale, I have the website, because it's an archive.org. You can't delete it. Okay. I have the website where she purchased it from. There was no independent contract, and Powder was really nice. I did reach out to her in Twitter, and she did answer my questions, and we'll go over some of that stuff. The company, for some reason, refused to reply to me, but we have their tweets as well, so we'll go over their what they're saying and how they have changed their story. So there was no other contract, no other agreement. That becomes really, really important, because somebody said, well, how can you avoid this mess? Easy. Hire an attorney to draft a contract that provides all of this information, right? So there is no dispute. And there was nothing limiting her ability to use the model. Okay? Right. So we'll go with that. There was a disclaimer in there about how the views of the person that's using the model are not the views of the artist. Okay. All right. Got it. We'll go through that as well, right? Okay. Then the company gets some complaints. They don't say how many complaints. In my experience, when people use plural, sometimes it's just one person complaining. Yeah. Because they're complaining a lot. How loud
the internet can be.
Yeah, it's usually one person complaining. Because many times, and I'm speaking this from my experience, many times when it comes to litigation, the plaintiff will say, well, many people told me, okay, give me the names. Well, it's only one person that just told me the same thing like 10 million times, right? It's like, come on, dude. That's not a million people, right? They said many people. They were not specific about how many people made reports or complaints. Maybe there were one, maybe there was one, maybe there were more. No idea. Again, irrelevant, right? They complain about it. And then the company decided, this is what they decided to do. They decided to say, hello, so this is Chalice, this is a company. We request that you no longer use this model to make extreme remarks, right? I don't think her remarks were that extreme, in my opinion.
I don't think they were either. Yeah. They could be definitely considered, I would say, controversial. Yeah. Just because there is a difference of opinion in things.
Of course.
But I would say that that's as far as you could go with it, is calling controversial remarks.
Yeah, they were controversial remarks. It was a hot take, but I wouldn't call it extreme. Right. No. I wouldn't. She didn't go out there saying, oh, we should do this to these people, blah, blah, blah. It was not extreme. It was not extreme.
There was no call to action or anything. It was literally just her speaking her mind.
Yeah.
And responding to haters.
Yeah, and she was responding to haters. So this is the again, like when we look at something, we look at the totality of the circumstances. We just don't do a microscope look at one thing, right? And before I forget, disclaimer, this discussion is meant to be educational. It should not constitute legal advice. If you're curious about your particular situation, please find a lawyer in your area that can give you more specific legal advice, because we're just talking about this generally, right? So anyway, so they continue. This is a customizable VTuber model, and your controversial statements may make other list meta users feel uncomfortable and offended, right? So at that point, there's nothing in here about you're affecting our brand, right? There's nothing in here that's saying your statements are affecting our brand and how our brand operates, right? Because that could be always an argument that could be brought up, which is what you're saying is affecting the company so much so that we have to take this step, right?
But would they have to show losses if they were trying to make that claim?
They
or
have
something
to
like
show
that?
something. Yeah, they have to show something. You have to prove things in court. You can't just go out there and say, hey, yeah, you're affected. Like, no, you have to show actual harm, right?
Not just people yelling at you on Twitter.
Yeah, and I don't see so far any actual harm from what we have seen. Again, like this is just what's publicly available. I have no idea what their finances are or anything, right? So they said they're basically saying you're making other list meta users feel uncomfortable and offended. We do not. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say real quick, for anybody who may not know, Liz Meta is the name of the model package that she bought. So that's probably the folder on her computer is probably Liz Meta. And it's the model, the rigging, anything that was included in that package she bought.
Yeah, exactly. So then it says, we do not insist that you delete your previous videos. It would be greatly appreciated if you choose to do so. But we ask that you refrain from making extreme videos using our model going forward. Otherwise, we will revoke your model usage rights. Right?
And again, there's that statement, making extreme videos. Like, all I saw was an opinion, man.
Yeah, I don't, and again, like this is very charged language as well, and then they're also then making the claim that they can revoke your model usage rights, which again then brings the question of, well, what was the agreement? What did you actually agree to that will give you the authority to pull the rug from under this person's feet, right? Because
a lot of this again is they wrote it up on their website, and then by you just purchasing it, they're saying that's implied consent to whatever they had written.
So the one thing that is important, right? So let me go to this one. Yeah, this is. So there we go. So this is the website. This is archive.org. For them, this was updated. This was captured on January 31st of 2026 before it got changed. Okay. Because every time something gets changed, it gets captured by archive.org. So when you look at this here, right? So this is what they changed. I think this is what they changed. I think I'm on the change model one, because what they have here is, let me just make sure this is the
Yeah,
one
because
that
that's
was
got the
changed.
unfriendly, hateful
Yeah,
speech
that's the
thing. So that's the
unfriendly
changed
hateful
one.
speech. Yeah, so this is the, so this was updated. So they updated their website according to archive.org on January 31st of 2026. So it unfortunately did not capture the one prior to that because it only captured it once, but I have seen screenshots of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, Hayden, if you're able to look it up, but I can.
I might have a
Okay.
screenshot of it.
So what the old one didn't have is the old one didn't have this section. So the old one didn't say the use of this model to generate unfriendly or hateful speech is strictly prohibited. You can tell like this was just added like at the last moment because there's like it just continues into the next one. Because the one they had before was if you maintain multiple accounts in the same platform that appear unrelated, you must purchase a separate. So let's just go over it. So this is what it says. So these are the terms that you're agreeing to. As of January 31st of 2026, they have, you cannot use this model to generate unfriendly or hateful speech, which is so vague and so broad. So vague and so broad that I don't see a court upholding this. Then they say if you maintain multiple accounts on the same platform that appear unrelated, you must purchase a separate copy for each account. Then this is stuff they had before. We merely provide the model and are not responsible for the statements made by individual users. Each model, so we're talking about licenses. Each model is licensed for personal use by one individual only. Okay, so the license is for your personal use. We strictly prohibit any form of reselling, sharing, distribution, or commercial sub-licensing, right? And the reason I'm assuming why they have this is because generally under the law, right? If you are, so let me just back down. Just generally under United States law, they're in Japan. This is I'm talking about United States law. Under United States law, when an artist sells a physical copy of an artwork, right? It could be a painting, a photograph, whatever it is. The buyer then acquires ownership of that particular copy, but not the underlying copyright unless the copyright is expressly transferred, right? So the copyright owner has the rights to reproduce, distribute, and display the work, right? Within that scope. So it could mean that if you have a book publisher, the book publisher has the rights of the copyright of the book and they can print as many books as they want, right? But then you have your book and then you can use your book for whatever you want, right? Because at that point, that's the sell. You bought the license to have the book, right? If you decide to give your book to somebody else, then that's up to you, right? You can do that unless the agreement states you cannot resell it or assign it to somebody else or gift it to somebody else, right? And there's some more conditions that go into that, right? And that is known as something called as the first sale doctrine, right? So once you have a lawful copy of a work or a product, then the copyright's owner has the right to control the further distribution. So say, for example, I sell to you, Hayden, my Diet Coke, and then part of our agreement says the sale was only for you to keep the can and drink the Diet Coke, but you cannot sell the Diet Coke that I gave you, right? So because I'm imposing further limitations on it. So that definitely seems like what they're doing in this situation here is that they're saying that they're putting some limitations on what you can do. And this was in the original one as well. So they're definitely putting some limitations on that, right? If the artist does not include specific restrictions at the time of sale, and that becomes really important, right? Then they cannot retroactively impose new restrictions, right?
Makes sense.
Absent a new agreement that has something that is called consideration. Consideration is basically something of value, something monetary of value. So say, for example, I gave you the Diet Coke, and then I decide, you know what, Hayden, I don't want you to go on camera with my can of Diet Coke and destroy my Diet Coke can while you're in the stream. Right? Or I don't want you to have my Diet Coke can be in the same video image as you when you have the deer antlers, right?
Yeah.
I can't retroactively change your terms of service unless I say, and if you agree to these terms, I'll give you $25. Then at that point, then something of value has been exchanged, right? Because in order for a contract to be valid, you need consideration. And if you say, hell yeah, $25, let's go, right? Then at that point, you have agreed to my new terms of service, right?
Right. But you can't just change what I previously agreed to and say, well, if you continue to have my Coke on that stream that you're on, I'm taking it back from you just because I added this in and I can't.
Yeah. And then they say, so we go to the remedy part. Violations might result in legal consequences. Okay. That's so non-specific. It's basically doesn't say anything. I'm sorry. And then, and then they talk about how they want to make sure that you know how to use the program because they're not going to give you any refunds if you're an idiot and don't know how to use it. Right. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. Right. And Facebook does this all the time, changing the terms of service. Like, yeah, they do. But then you click accept. Right. So think about it this way. So think about TikTok just pushed out a new terms of service, right? Or look about what Nintendo did with the Switch. They pushed out a new terms of service with the Switch 2 that you had to agree to. You can always
you had to agree.
Yeah, you had to agree to. A pop-up will show up and tell you, hey, we changed the terms of service. You're agreeing to this. If you keep doing this. So there's definitely some language in there that tells you exactly what's going on. In here, and that's different too because of the service that they're providing. But in here, we have one transaction. We have only one transaction, right? We have one transaction where you exchange money and there is nothing else exchanged after that.
Well, and to be clear, like for me, for my model, I've never had any interaction whatsoever with my model artist or the rigger or anybody that was involved in creating this model that I use. We have never talked. They don't even know that I exist. I just purchased a product that they had for sale. Yeah,
exactly. And it just really then comes down to like, what were the terms of sale at that point? And was there consideration for any new changes in the terms of service? Mega Monster says, I think you're making the argument that this is an ongoing software that she's using for the model. She already downloaded the folder. She doesn't get anything new that's being sent to her, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it doesn't get updated. It just is what it is.
Yeah, and I think you're nailing it right on the point. I think Mega Monster is right. Like this is what they're arguing, and this is why their argument is not very persuasive. Now, let's also talk about the fact that this company is in Japan. Did you know that? They're in Japan.
Yes.
And Powder is in the United States.
International law.
Those are so painful. It's so painful to file a lawsuit internationally.
Because you either have to go to them or they have to come to you, right?
Yeah. I mean, Powder is not gonna go to them. I mean, why would she? I mean, that's insane. Like in order to, because I've had to file and serve lawsuits to different countries in France and Italy, and they're pain in the neck to do. They're so horrible to go through, right? Because you have to go through the embassy. You know, there's certain procedures that you need to do. The documents need to be very specific, and you have to follow the guidelines that they have, and they'll speak a different language, right? It's just it's difficult to do. They have different rules to do to get them bound to the United States. So she's not gonna do that, right? And this
Mhm.
company apparently is only 4 people. And from what they have said, from what I found too, they have said we're 4 people with not a lot of money. And I'll
Right.
bring that up when they also say it. But like that's generally what they say. So there are 4 people in Japan. In order for them to pursue legal action, they would have to find exactly where this individual lives. You're gonna have to serve this individual. I don't know how old she is. I don't know her very well. I don't know anything about her. I don't know if she's over 18, or under 18. Those has different implications too. If you
Yeah.
if you engage in a contract with a minor, then that contract
Right.
generally is void, is null and void if they're a minor. So, and I don't know if they were. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the situation was. Maybe they were. Maybe they're an adult, and maybe that's not an issue. Right? But there's a lot of issues that could go forward in that. And then they're gonna have to then file the lawsuit based on U.S. law, not Japanese law.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
And
gonna
those laws are
be.
not the same.
They are
Japan
not.
notoriously has very strict copyright laws and very strict terms of usage.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more loose over here in the U.S.
Yeah. So let me go through some of the stuff that I saw. Let me find this thing again here. All right. So this is the stuff from there. Let me look. Hold on.
I was looking for that original archive post that I had found, and I cannot find it anywhere.
I know it's on the thing. It's just not. This is another model. Let me find it here. Just give me 1 second while I find what I need to find. Okay, this is what I wanted to share. So this is in booth where they're selling it in Japanese currency. This is oh, you found it. You want to share your screen? Or
I did.
All right.
Yeah, let me embiggen this screen.
Embiggen.
There we go. Okay, yeah. So it was a post that another user had screenshotted. And here we go.
Okay. There we go.
So yeah, Yanis said, nowhere in your clause do I see a rule where users need to adhere to any style of content, but I did find this. You said yourself you're not responsible, so just move on. Now, I think that in here somewhere was where they had put that new piece.
Oh, I think it was before. I think it was before that. Yeah, I don't think it shows that, but I do know that they had not updated both websites at the same time. But this is the other thing too that is of interest, is the fact that they're a Japanese store. This is their list meta models that they're selling in Japan, right? And these are the terms of service that they have in Japan, right? There's nothing in here about not using it for hate speech or discrimination or anything like that. There's nothing in here that talks about it. Oh wait, no, they do. Oh my god, they changed it. Oh my god, I should have screenshotted this before, because this was not here when I looked it up. So they did change it as well. Okay. Well, when I had originally looked it up, it was not there. I guess they changed it, which is not too surprising.
I've seen screenshots of their entire contract, and none of that was in there, even for the English model. And I guess I don't know. I can't find any of the screenshots I'd seen of it or anything like that. But it was not there.
The thing too, and then they came up then with this response here. Oh, do you think she's an adult? Yeah. That could be it.
Yeah, she's an adult.
Okay. So then they made a response. It says, message from Team Chalice to our community. First, so for those who may not know as well, Team Chalice is a 4 person independent creative team. We're not a company or a corporation. I tried to find to see if they were a corporation that were incorporated in the United States. They were not. I tried to see if they were a corporation incorporating in Japan. I could not find anything to show that they were incorporated in Japan. So this again confirms, like, yeah, it was a copy and paste. You're right. Because man, I should have taken a screenshot because I looked at this like yesterday and it was not there.
Yeah.
So again, they're not a corporation. So it adds more to the interest part of it, because then they're gonna have to join individually and be personally liable. So that can be quite scary if you are an individual not protected by the corporate veil, because then at that point, you know, if I was a creator that was being sued by them, you know, I would counter sue and go after penalties, you know, as well, you know, and then at that point they will be personally liable for all of that money, because there's no corporation, no corporate veil protecting their personal finances. So they're saying here they're not a company, they're not a corporation. They said, Liz Meta, I also thought this was important. It's a passion project that we built from the ground, and it has now served 1,400 creators. So if there are 1,400 creators using this model, you cannot tell me they're going around seeing what other people are saying or not saying with all of these models every single stream.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
They like I said, whenever I bought mine, for example, I purchased it on a website that they had a file for sale, and we have never interacted a single time. And in their terms of use, it did say that I needed to put their credits into my main social media. And they didn't say into all of your social media. Yeah. They said just into your main one. So I threw it on my YouTube. I'm following their terms that I agreed to, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think this goes to help them. I think actually this hurts them. Right. We know for that. Because then also, like, how can you protect, is it really an IP when it's so distributed, right? And then they're saying, so we're extremely grateful. We want to take the moment to address some of the recent discussions. Then they say, you know, our model is not conventional digital product. It functions as your virtual identity and your face online. So again, like, and we talked about this at the beginning too, is like, when this is your identity, right? You can customize it to, you know, to a point where you will look different and unique from the other people that are using the models. So
it's not 1,400 of the exact same copy pasted. There were options in it.
Their original post said the other users complained because, you know, they're gonna say, like, people are gonna assume that they're gonna assume that your political speech is the same as theirs, right? If you have 1,400 people using the model, and it's all customizable and everybody can make it unique and their own, you can't tell me they're going to impute your political speech to all 1,400 creators.
Well, the thing is, and this was one thing that I just kind of thought upon seeing this having happened a couple of times, is like the models don't look the same. Like, I've never seen anybody with a model that looks just like mine. Powder is recognizable with that model she was using. Now, this is not her main model. Yeah. This is a model that she purchased in order to cosplay Amelia from the meme that came from the British game.
Yeah.
But I still don't see anybody else flying around out there that looks like the model that she has made. There's no confusing it. And honestly, I personally didn't even tie it back to the creator, because it's not the creator's face online. It's not the creator's digital identity. It's the individual user's digital identity.
Correct.
Because they have made it their own.
All right. And somebody very kindly posted the archive on my Twitter post, so I'm gonna share that tab
Perfect.
here. So okay, there you go. Just not there. It was right before. It was right before each model is licensed for personal use.
Okay,
There it
so
is.
that was the part where I showed too, where it said each model is licensed for personal use. So it was right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So this, I mean, again, like, thank you so much for finding it. So this is from archive.org from January 17th. You know, there's 2 captures on that website. So thank you again so much for that. For putting that out. So again, like these are the terms of service that she agreed to when she bought the model, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see them having a good argument to take it down, right? Let me go to. Let me close some of the stuff I don't need anymore.
Hey, real quick, I'm getting a work phone call. I will be back in
Yep.
just like a couple of seconds.
Go for it. Let me this. Hold on. All right. So that's the controversy stuff. We talked about that. I'm just closing stuff I don't need to keep open. So give me 1 second, and I don't need this open. Okay. All right. So let me share this tab again. So this is what they're saying though. When viewers see your avatar, they naturally associate it with the creator behind the technology. Again, this is really not true. This is something they'll have to prove in court, which I think they'll have a hard time doing. Generally, when you make a claim like that, you'll need an expert witness to come and talk about it, and then be able to say, because what's going to eventually happen is they're going to look at all these 1,400 creators and then other VTuber images as well. And then you're gonna then prove a point that they're not that identical. Like you can't for sure always associate it. Also, too, when in their website themselves, they say, no, the views and the speech of an individual are not reflected as our own. That's a good point. All right, let me get through this and then I'll address the copyright part. This means our model is using commercial content only. That's also not true because, and of course, I like, oh my God. Okay, hold on. Let me share this because I closed the other ones. They say this is for personal use only. Is it in here? Okay, no, this is not in here on. Okay, but we all saw the so this is the other part that we're in, Hayden. So they says that our model is for using commercial content, but their terms of service say it's for personal use only.
That's actually really an interesting thing because in the at least on the Japanese side of it, and again, I am not a lawyer. I do not know anything about the actual law, just to clarify with everybody. But so I've noticed that they'll say personal use or personal commercial use. And a lot of the time, what it seems that they mean is that you can't use it for merchandise. So you can use it to monetize a stream that you're on or something like that you're doing, but you can't make any merchandise. And that's actually excluded in a lot of these contracts. It says, you know, there is no merchandising.
Yeah, exactly. Let me get to some of the chat's comments because I think they're good ones. Dr. S. Rule says, I've seen other models using it. I wouldn't even suspect they were using the same model platform. I agree with you. Like, I wouldn't be able to tell which ones are what. And again, when you go to a court, you know, you're going to be judged by a group of peers. They're not going to know anything about this. Like they're not gonna be able to tell. This is absolutely ridiculous.
If you showed 5 models from the same package and one model that was from a different package, they would probably have a difficult time telling based on the art style, right?
Yeah.
Like, of course, there are artists with different art styles, and you can very easily tell a difference. But there are also artists that have very similar art styles,
Correct.
and you wouldn't be able to tell if one that had a similar art style and just had different features.
Yeah, I mean that's correct because, like, say for example, like generally when I draw art and I do art, I try to be more realistic with the art, um, versus like say for example like Tabitha who does a lot of chibis, right? And she
Yeah,
tends to
yeah.
be more cutesy with her style. It's very different style. I try to go as close as I can for realism, without being like ultra realistic. But she, I tend to go more for a manga slash realistic mix, and she tends to be very different. So definitely they're different art, they're different art styles, but you could see people, many artists using the same art style, and you wouldn't be able to differentiate between them for sure. Mega Monster says, honestly, though, putting aside the politics controversy, the idea that a copyright holder can retroactively revoke a license because they have seller's remorse spits in the fact of basic control law. I agree with you 100%. It does. Because, again, we already looked at the agreement that they agreed to at the time of sale. There was nothing there. There was no claw box in there at all. There was nothing about each, like, generally you have a contract, and I spend a lot of my time looking at contracts. Generally in a contract you might have language that says within notice of 30 days you provide notice to this address or to this email or to this person in this specific method, then you can revoke this agreement. And there was no such thing in there,
Right.
at all. And then I'll address the copy. I guess
There wasn't even like a clause that said we reserve the right to revoke the contract of use at any time.
Correct. Yeah, there was nothing in there either. Yeah.
Nothing.
No, and they say, I think the worry is that they might spam copyright strike her. I wouldn't worry too much about it because generally how YouTube works is that if they're gonna do a copyright strike, then you can appeal it. And then the other side, the person that is filing the copyright strike, has to show proof that they have taken legal action against you to protect their copyright. So I will be really interested to see if a group of 4 people that apparently are not very well, that don't have a lot of finances, will file a lawsuit in America, considering how expensive America is compared to other countries. They're not gonna do it. It's just never gonna happen. I don't foresee somebody doing it. I think that they went about it the wrong way. Definitely. I think there are many different ways that they could have gone about it, and this was not it.
Oh, Mega Monster just said something cool, and I want to try to answer it and then get the actual lawyer response.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, what would you say to rebuttal about how games can ban you from playing online if you say hate speech or whatever? Is it because the agreement was made on purchase? What if it was a TOS change after? And the answer to that is they popped up with a little box and you clicked accept.
Yeah, that is true. The law behind the pop-up click agreements is so interesting because it has been such a controversial topic about what you can agree on a pop-up, right? Because what used to be before, it used to be way worse, where it would just be like a little box and it wouldn't tell you anything. It would just link you to the entire thing. So at that point, again, you're like continuously using their product, which they are updating. So they're giving you something of value every time they do it, because they generally do it when there's a new battle pass coming out, there's like new maps coming out, right? Yeah, that is definitely the alternative is if you reject it, you don't play the game. That is definitely the alternative. And at that point, that's your choice to make, right? Whether or not you want to enter into the agreement or not. And that's why it's so
exactly the point.
Yeah. And that is why it's so controversial, right? Because the argument is that you're not given really much of a choice. Unfortunately, the case law out there and courts have, stated that the option is to just play a different game. But it's definitely interesting because it has been really controversial in terms of like what can be in a pop-up and to what extent you can agree to things. So they have been, for example, restrictions on agreeing to never go to court in a case and having to arbitrate. So if they are waiving your right to go to court, they look at that more closely in terms of that. And if you're saying it's a general waiver of things and they don't like that, it has to be very specific. There are so much discussion about how you can waive it. So if you look at a contract, just open up any contract, really, like any contract. You say you bought a new fridge, a dishwasher, computer, whatever it is, bought anything. Look at the contract, the booklet they gave you. There are definitely things out there that will be in all caps and bold or idolized, underlined, for that reason whatsoever. Because part of the question is, was this hidden in a mountain of a million different words that nobody could have seen it? So that definitely becomes part of that discussion too. But for the games, like at that point is, if you don't agree to the terms of service, then you just play a different game. And the terms and the counter argument for that is the terms of service are in the website. So if you had an issue with that, you could have read them in their website before you bought the product, or you can get the product refunded. Does Powder use a Go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say that same chat. Does Powder use a software that requires updating? So the answer is probably. Because I would imagine she uses the same software that I use. She might not, but that's VTube Studio. That is a completely separate entity than the files that are loaded into VTube Studio.
And that's an application
purchase.
That's an application you can get through Steam. That has nothing to do with the art itself.
Right. And that's what I mean. Hell, let me show you just for those who may not know real quick. Using VTube Studio, I am able to do this. One moment. And see, now I'm a cat. And it's built into VTube Studio that I have a couple of models that come with VTube Studio. But this model specifically, this is my model. This is a model that I loaded into the program and is completely separate from VTube Studio itself.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. The package that Powder bought was basically just this. She bought the model, not the program along with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is definitely the reason why we're talking about this, right? Because I think there's a lot of misconception around it and misconception about VTubers that I thought it would be good to have the discussion and just have it be more of an education, and let's chat about it.
Yeah, he said, okay, some people were saying she needed a software from Kokoda. That's unlikely because model files can work in various different softwares. It just depends on which one you want to use. There's not a lot of people, and I highly doubt that a team of 4 people are creating their own proprietary software that you have to download and install to run their model files. Well, so she's probably using this software like I'm using that's designed to be able to just load a file into and be able to use.
And their website also does say like you need to be able to know how to customize it and use different programs. So I don't think they're using a program that they're giving out either.
So VTube Maker is another program that I had to purchase. I had to first load my model into VTube Maker, then go through and customize it using a different emote set, because that's what all of these customization options are actually labeled as. They're labeled as emotes. And then you go through and you set the emotes that you want as your default emotes. You save that. Then you move that file over into another program and it loads your model with all of those emotes already put, which is my hair, my facial hair, my eye color, my shirt. Like that's what they mean by you have to know how to do it. It's a different program that allows you to change the files that pop up whenever you actually launch it into your studio software.
Makes sense. All right, so let's just gonna continue. So they say, as original creators and right holders is okay. Okay, we believe our responsibility goes beyond simply selling a product. This is not true. I think they're overstepping, in my opinion. We have an inherent obligation to protect the creative ecosystem. Okay, that's fine. You
Mhm.
can protect your creative ecosystem, but you can't tell other people what to do, right? And
Right.
then they say this is not about adding new rules after the fact. It's about upholding a principle that exists in any creative licensing relationship. Commercial use of original artwork should not cause harm to the creator brand or to fellow authorized users. I disagree with this because, again, like she's saying, what they're saying is what you're doing is affecting 1,400 people that bought the product. And they're
Yeah.
going to have to prove that in court. They're going to have to prove that by Powder making one statement, she affected 1,400 people. You know,
Which
or
is insane because
yeah.
again, they look individually different because it is customizable.
Yeah. And then this part I laughed at. We also want to be transparent as a small independent team of 4. This is our first time navigating a situation like this, and we acknowledge our initial communication should have been handled more carefully. We're a small team of 4, not a legal department, which also just made me laugh because I would assume that before you try and send a cease and desist letter via Twitter, you would talk to counsel about it.
Even if it's like council in Japan, right? Like if
Yeah.
it's a different like nation that may be completely different, at least talk to somebody. Don't just like panic response and try to the problem is that artists, just like many of these other industries, need to learn that you don't
Yeah.
bow to a mob whenever a mob starts to come after you because they're not the ones buying your product anyway.
Yeah. So then people ask, like, well, what are you doing? You know, they said they communicated a resolution to the individual. And then this is the offer. This is the offer that they gave Powder. Full refund plus termination of authorization. We will refund the full purchase price of the model, and you will cease all commercial use. I don't think this word means what they think it means, including removing traces of the model from already published content. That's insane. If this person streams to YouTube, that's a lot of videos to delete.
Yeah,
that's insane.
potentially.
Oh yeah, or two. Continue use under the original authorization if you limit usage to non-controversial content only. We can also discuss retaining partial rights depending on the specific circumstances. Again, like they're trying to change the terms that were agreed upon after the sale without any type of consideration. Like, what motivation would she have to change the rights that she already has?
Well, but they also said continued use under the original authorization, which didn't have their addendum to the TOS involved in it. So even then, they're adding a stipulation of if you limit usage to non-controversial.
Yeah, I think the problem is that this is not the original authorization. This is something that they change after somebody or someone's, I don't know, complaint. It's not the original one.
It's under the original, except for the thing that we changed. You can agree to this or not, and we're giving you nothing. Like, what?
Yeah, or we can discuss retaining partial rights. Like, again, like there is no rhyme or reason for anybody to agree to any of this. I just don't see it.
She has to agree to that. She would have to like actually agree to it. If she just ignores it, well, she's still abiding by their original TOS. So
yeah, for sure. And this is too. Let me hold on. This is hilarious, and I'm sharing this screen too because this is also accurate as well. It's part of what we were discussing. You know, where they were saying like continued use will constitute acceptance. That again doesn't mean what you think it means. because she purchased a product, she downloaded the files. There were no additional files or additional service that she was getting. So there is no consideration for her to agree to any new terms of the contract.
It seems to me like it's just a scare tactic to try to force somebody into compliance, and that's all it is. And it's to make other people try to, help kind of beat somebody down and be like, oh, they said continued use is acceptance. And it's like, well, that's not how that works. Like, there hasn't been any acceptance, and you can't just add that in.
No, definitely not. So did you watch the video from Powder from YouTube?
Yeah.
All right.
So I've been watching Powder for a couple of years. Like I know a little bit about Powder. I watch her streams occasionally.
I'll share my screen. So when you want to talk about, I don't want to like kid play, but this is her channel, by the way. You want to talk about like what she said in this situation?
Well, I mean, to boil it down, I think she basically just said, yeah, no, like I'm not gonna accept your new terms, and I'm gonna do what I want because nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. So I mean, that's mostly really it. I know, like, it was a very hot, controversial topic. It's it's a hot take in terms of like what was going on. Hopefully that answers many questions that you guys might have. I don't know, Hayden, if you have any additional burning questions as we go through the entire scenario, or chat does. I'll browse through chat.
I mean, the one thing that I'll say is that in the VTuber and artist kind of relationship world, it's very tumultuous right now because everything is kind of dividing politically, and it's becoming a thing where the loud mob is now getting involved, right? We've seen this happen with video games. We've seen this happen with movies and stuff like that. And it's just now kind of hitting the VTuber sphere. And it turns into this weird situation where artists, not all artists, okay? I just want to be clear on that. Sometimes artists can be pretentious assholes that don't understand what their rights are and what they are not whenever they are commissioned or paid to produce a product. You do not maintain control over the usage of that product if that was not what was agreed to during the purchase. And for some reason, a lot of them don't seem to understand that. And it's very strange to me. Now, a lot of these artists are foreign. They're from Japan, China, Korea, various different places. So their laws where they are might be different. But VTubing has also hit the West now, where a lot of those laws don't actually work that way. Now, again, it's not all artists. I'm somebody who I support artists. I love paying for art from people that I appreciate their work. I like the human hand going into things. Like I love seeing some work that somebody has done, and I think that they should be fairly like paid for spending the time to make that. However, if you just do a drawing, I'm sorry, it's not worth $15,000 fucking dollars.
It's really not.
Like, and there are some VTuber models that have gone for upwards of $50,000. Now that's with art, rigging, and a lot of the time that like level of model will come with regular updates, right? So they learn a new rigging technique, or they get better at it, and they update the model and they give it to you. And because that's what was agreed to. Yeah. But like there are some artists out there that like you look at some of the stuff that they're trying to sell, and they're trying to sell just a basic like drawing that they did that's ready to be rigged and put into VTube Studio or anything like that. Yeah. And they're trying to sell these things for upwards of $5,000 as like a beginner model.
I feel like I should start like drawing like little sticks and then selling them for like $5,000. At that point,
there would be people who would buy it, and that's the problem. It inflates these artist egos, And they start saying, oh, well, now that I've sold something for $4,000, everything else I sell can be sold for $4,000. It's like, well, that's not how the market actually works. But
Yeah.
yeah, as long as people are buying your shit, I guess charge whatever you want for it. But at the same time, you don't maintain creative control over that. You are not the company like say HoloLive or any of these other huge corporations that paid for the model, for the rigging, and then can say, okay, yeah, you're going to not ever show your skin. You're not going to ever go into politics. You're not ever. But that's an employment contract. That's not an art usage contract. That's something entirely different. And a lot of these artists that work with independent VTubers don't seem to notice that.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
drawing $2,000 complete in 5 months after a 3-month wait list. Yeah, if you get a 3-month wait list and get your art done in 5 months, you're fucking lucky.
Yeah, for sure. The whole thing is just really crazy, but just kind of looking to see if there's any more questions. But yeah, I mean, I think hopefully that answers a lot of the questions. We kind of talked about a little bit. We talked about the VTuber drama, what it means to be a VTuber, the identity, what is behind generally under United States law, what the contracts and sales and click agreements, click ready to click agreements and all that. So if you have questions, just make sure to let us know. Hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. I will be starting soon. Before I do my outro, actually, let let Hayden do his outro. Hayden, what are you up to? What are you doing?
Yeah. So I. Typically tonight I have a politics stream that I do on Nerd Wars channel with him and ABF and a couple other people. But tomorrow, join us over on the GCA for Late and Gay with the GCA. We talk sometimes video games, entertainment stuff, and it's really just a bunch of friends hanging out and shooting the shit together and hanging out with chat. We have a lot of fun doing that show every week, and I'd love if you guys would come hang out sometime.
Yep. I'm gonna be starting a stream right after this playing God of War. We're gonna finish that game in my gaming stream, which is Sevvy Love. I just put it in the chat. You can tomorrow you can find me with Geeks and Gamers Play, where we generally play games. And back at if you subscribe to my Twitter, I don't know if you can put my link tree in there. You can follow me. I usually try to tell everybody what I'm up to, what I'm doing in my social media over there. Thank you, Hayden, so much for hanging out. Much appreciated. I really do enjoy the discussion.
Real quick.
Yes.
I just wanted to address in the chat. Two's Nose said, I still don't think the artist is solely the problem. I've never said the artist was solely the problem. They are reacting to a mob coming at them in retaliation for someone that disagreed with Powder. Hell, Kirsha can't even go home. And yeah, she's in a undisclosed location that she calls Bunkerland.
Oh my goodness.
Because she got, people were trying to dox her. And they were trying to find where she lived after they had, called her all the names that are acceptable for you to be marked as a target and Charlie Kurt, for lack of a better term. Oh my God,
Jesus.
So she's fled her home and for months has been hiding. But yes, it is because of a mob coming after people. But that's the thing. I bring up artists being a problem because in the sense of, they still just listen to a mob. And that's why I brought up video games and movies and TV shows and stuff like that, is you can't have a couple of people yell at you on the internet and then decide to take a hard stance and be like, well, fuck everybody who doesn't agree with me. Like that, you can't do that. And they all need to actually learn that lesson because people need to tell them no. People need to say, yeah, we're not going to listen to you. But I just wanted to address that real quick because, the mob is the problem. And it's because we're so divided right now and people use any avenue of attack that they can. And every time somebody like an artist or a sponsor company or somebody comes in and goes, oh no, we're gonna drop you because you didn't have the opinion of this person who complained.
Yeah.
What, we can't let them keep doing that, and they need to be called out for it.
Yeah, that reminds me of that one. It's an Advantage
Advanced GG.
Advanced
Yeah,
G.
dropping Rev
Where
and
they,
Straub.
yeah, when they dropped them, but then didn't do anything at all to the other person who said
Yep.
really insane things. It was absolutely
Yeah.
crazy, and that's an example of discrimination based on political speech. So
Right.
at that point, I think those two folks that got dropped have a very good argument for potential lawsuit
Yeah,
based
they
on that.
might. I mean, they might not want to pursue that, but again, this is something that we've seen happen over and over again, and it is political discrimination. This just isn't something that the people who are being discriminated against have like fought back against and gone after. Now, with this powder situation, it's a little bit different, maybe because it does deal with international law. But for these American companies that go after people and try to axe them because, oh, we had 3 people complain at us on Twitter, so now we're dropping you, even though there was no real reason to do that.
Yeah.
But those companies need to be. I hope Advanced GG goes out of business because of what they did to them.
Yeah, that
I'll
was
just say
pretty.
it.
That was pretty insane. But I mean, if I was them, I would have started a lawsuit just based on that. But I'm not them. But I think sometimes lawsuits are the way to go. I hate to say it, not just because I am a lawyer. Moss says he is a gay retard. Yes, Moss is a gay retard. We know that. Hello, Smooth. Thank you so much. Grape says Sevvy Tabitha is talking about how lovely you look tonight. Well, thank you, Tabitha. Nomi says, but in reality, Moss is a gay retard. Yes, Moss is 100% a gay retard. Don't listen to Nomi. You're far too professional. Really, Moss? I mean, I call you gay all the time. And we just got raided by Tabitha. Thank you, Tabitha, so much for the raid. Advanced GG's story about his CEO was outlandish. Yes, it was. That was really, really insane. Mega Monster, you didn't have to retract it. I think you're right. I think the whole thing is insane.
That story doesn't even matter because it has nothing to do with Rev and Straub.
Yeah.
Or their business relationship. It had nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. I'm tired of these people going in and indiscriminately being like, you have the wrong opinion, so screw you. We're going to take everything away from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I'm going to go. I can't raid you guys, unfortunately, to my gaming channel from YouTube. So you guys are going to have to come over to it physically. I'll put the link in the YouTube chat, so you guys are going to have to click on it. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. My Legally Sevvy channel is not monetized because I've been lazy and not putting a lot of videos out. So I just need watch hours, if you're wondering. So if you guys have time, you can just get a playlist, get the watch hours rolling, and I'll do my best to keep putting more content on the Legally Sevvy channel. It just usually requires a lot more work than just talking about games. And honestly, though, sometimes I just want to turn off my lawyer head and just relax. So I don't want to come home to do more lawyer work.
I will let you know whenever VTuber drama pops off, and it can always be a fun conversation.
Yes, I love it. When are you getting your VTuber? That sounds so complicated.
It's really not.
It sounds like complicated. Okay, maybe I'll look into it.
I'll just say this: there's another VTuber who's kind of in our circle. Friends with Leon, Words of Paradise, Cinevere.
Mm-hmm.
I helped her get her VTuber model and get started as a VTuber.
Oh, did you? Oh, Cindy's so
I've
nice.
also helped a couple other VTubers get started. So if you have any questions, I can start pointing you in the right direction if you want to go that route.
Awesome. Well, let's talk in DMs then, Hayden. Much appreciated. All right, guys. If you are in chat, go click on as soon as I'm ending, go click on the link to go to my gaming channel, and I will see you guys there for more God of War. And then if you are on the Kick or the Twitch side, just hang tight. Just wait for a second. I know there's gonna be a Legally Sevvy ending stream, but it's just while I switch things up. So just give me one hot second. Thank you, Hayden, so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.